Good morning and welcome to another edition of Mega Cares. It's another great day to sit and talk about folks and talk to folks in our area that are doing great things. And over the last few weeks, we've had some really good guests in here. We've talked motivation. We've talked about failure and failing your way to succeeding. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff that believes in this country of ours, this great country of ours. And it stems from one guy that went through all the other stuff that you're going to hear from. He had his struggles and he had his moments and he had his life-changing moments. But it's what that one person did. It's kind of the same story with anything else. What drove that person? What motivated them? They already had it in them. They already knew the right people. But what was that clicked in their mind and they said, I'm going to make a difference, right? And be that change in the world. So today, I'm lucky enough to have a good friend of mine, personally, professionally, all around. It's Steve Baird, and he is from Band of Brothers. Steve, how you doing? Pull that mic down a little bit.
I'm doing perfect, my brother.
Good
Thanks
to have
for having
you here
me.
with me. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So let's start from kind of the beginning. You're a local boy, raised here locally.
Raised here locally.
Schools locally.
Yeah, well, until I was about 10. And
Okay.
then parents divorced, obviously, and I went up to Northern Cal, and after trips to Montana and around the world in the Marines, I'm back here as of about 6 years ago. So.
Okay, so you just kind of jumped right into the Marines, but that's not an easy thing to do. What got you to be, hey, I think I want to join the Marine, above and beyond serving your country, then to go, I want to be with the best of the best?
Yeah, there's a sense of, I guess you call it patriotism in me. I do love my country, but obviously at 17, 18 years old, I'm looking for direction.
Yeah.
I'm a hard-nosed kid, and I'm looking for something that's going to challenge me. And funny enough, I went to the recruiting office with a buddy, and we start walking up, and there's a Navy and Marine Corps offices are up front, and the Army and the Air Force are in the back. So we didn't even make it past that first door. I mean, out comes a Marine recruiter, and out comes a Navy recruiter, and there's this giant stature of a man. A specimen.
Yeah.
Guy's built, and he's I got one question for you. You want to look like me, or you want to look like him? And he points over at the petty officer, who's probably at the end of his career,
Right.
and he's relaxing with a coffee, maybe a donut.
Sure.
And I looked, and I'm like, well, sold. And before you know it, they're showing me some videos, motivational videos, and I'm hooked. So
Yeah,
that was
you're buying into the whole Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah, for
I'm
me,
on
it was A Few Good Men. And
Okay.
he wanted me to watch the clip of Jack Nicholson versus Tom Cruise, in
Nice.
the courtroom. And
you saw yourself on that wall.
yeah, I saw. Yeah, that's right.
They need Steve Baird on that wall.
They need me on that wall. We use words like honor, courage, and commitment.
Yes. I love Kiefer's lines in there when he's talking about that and talking about God and his country. I'm like, oh my God, dude. I'm ready to join my fat butt. They'll laugh at me and go, sir, you need to go home now. You need to go home. So you go, that's got to be transforming alone within itself. We've talked personally about it with my son, the people that you've had. Talk to me about that, becoming a Marine. It's got to be very mental and very physical at the same time.
You see, I'm getting the chills right now. It's still it's still probably one of my greatest achievements in my life because I went in there not knowing, not really. I was pretty insecure, I guess.
Sure.
I have been through a lot, and I think that's a lot of youth today.
Yeah.
Not really sure of themselves, and when I went in, I was supposed to go with a group of 4. I had broke my hand at a going away party, and so I was delayed, and the other guys went, and they didn't make it, and so all of a sudden I got to go by myself. And
knowing that, hey, those dudes
they
didn't
make it, and I thought they're a hell of a lot tougher than me.
Wow.
And so I ended up coming out of there. I ended up graduating top of my class, and it was
awesome.
a defining moment for me to be able to stand there, with my grandparents, my parents, my uncles and aunts. Really, there was a moment where I felt like I was good at something. Yeah. I knew I was good at something, and that was a life-changing moment.
As a child, were you what they, what do they deem them as, the young ones? I'm trying to think what they call them. They're not devil dogs?
Yeah, the little devil pups.
Devil pup, yeah. Were you? Was that something that was always in the back of your mind?
No, but I played with G.I. Joe a lot as a kid, and my favorite guy was Gung Ho. He's a big Marine tattoo on his chest. That was my guy. So I guess I was just born into it.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're there. How long do you spend, and where do you go? What do you do?
4 years. I went off. My first assignment was Yokosuka, Japan.
Wow.
And we had I was on a security force group out there, so we had some good responsibilities.
Had you ever been off of the mainland?
No.
Okay.
No, I'd
That
never.
was a big trip
No,
then.
I've never even been to Hawaii, which I get to go
Jeez.
this summer. So yeah, Japan. All of a sudden, funny part is, I was sitting there, and as they're reading off the orders, they said Baird, Yokosuka, and I'm expecting Chesapeake or Norfolk,
Right,
Virginia, or something, and next thing you know, I think I'm going for a year. He said, it's only a year. Shut your mouth, Baird.
Sure.
That's the way it works. And
yeah.
so on the plane ride over, I'm talking to the other guys, and they're talking about, oh well, we're a year and a half. I said, what? And by the time we landed in Tokyo, which nobody's there to pick us up at the airport.
Great.
Nobody speaks English. We're having steak at a restaurant. We didn't realize it's Kobe beef at $70 a pop, and we don't have that kind of money. So,
Oh my God.
so we get to post 5, which is right inside the barracks there, and he said, congratulations, 2 years. What?
Okay. Oh.
So instantly.
I'm gonna need to make some calls.
Yeah. So
So I mean, that's great. What year are we talking?
we're talking 1995 when I arrived in
my
Yokosuka,
gosh.
Japan. So
And really, at that time, were you like, okay, well, or were you like, wait, I wanted a year and I wanted to be back on stage?
I didn't know what to
So
think.
it was just really hitting you.
Yeah, I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm still nervous. I mean, you're entering into something, and then, of course, the Marine Corps. Yeah, we'll talk about the Marine Corps being new in the Marine Corps and what that's like being a boot.
Yeah, what is that like?
So, years ago, 2020 got a sample video of they call it the hazing, where they're pinning on these Budweiser pins and not Budweiser the beer, they call them Budweiser jump wings, things like that. And I think it was a recon unit, and
Which is what you were?
no,
right?
I
you
was
weren't a recon.
security force unit.
Okay,
no.
okay.
And so the tradition in the Marines, when you get promoted, they pound your rank into your chest. Now these are basically have an earring backing,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And little posts.
They hurt a
and
little.
they punch them in, and sometimes they'll hit your bone, and they might stick in and dig in a little bit, and you got to pop them out. And everybody above you in rank, you just walk the gauntlet, and that's what happens. So that stuff is, to me, honestly, that stuff's awesome, man. That's history. That's a lot of people look like that's torture. I don't want to be a part of that. But there's something that, we're the ones going through it, and it should be ultimately left to us to decide, if we want to do it.
And brothers, before you have done it, and you want to be a part of it,
absolutely.
You're in name a part of that. I want to be there in every way I can be.
Yeah, so, bloodied up, bruised up, but, that's pales in comparison to what the military is asked to do. You're asked to go fight, and so getting punched a few times. I mean, it's nothing compared to what the realities of what could be.
What was that first moment in the Marines? It was real that your friends at home were having whatever they were doing, being idiots.
Yeah.
With the beer can cases on their head and
Yeah.
running around getting crazy. But for you, you're like, well, this is real life, and I'm a grown up now that has to deal with this.
The first time they gave me my M9 Beretta, and I'm putting live rounds in that thing, and this is your post,
right?
And this will not happen at your post, and these are the rules. And basically, here it was. I mean, I still remember it today. Deadly force is that force which a person uses with the purpose of causing, which he knows or should know would create a substantial risk of death or bodily harm. Its use is justified only under conditions of extreme necessity as a last resort, when all lesser means have failed and cannot reasonably be employed.
So that means when it goes down, it's up to you to make that choice.
That's right.
If you protect or you do not protect.
Yeah.
That is real. It doesn't get more real than that.
It doesn't get any more real than that.
Man.
You have several steps that lead up to that, but when that moment comes, it's as plain as day.
Right.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're in the Marines for how long?
4 years.
4 years. That's you're coming back at somewhere around 24.
Yeah, 20. I went in young, so I went in at 18. So I was coming out at 22, and
why come out? What was the thought process there?
Well, so I wanted to be sergeant major of the Marines. I wanted to stay in. I loved it. Like I said, as a young kid, didn't know what I was capable of. Finding something I was good at felt good.
Yeah.
And basically, we have a rule in the Marines. They say, you don't get married on your first enlistment. I think everybody breaks that rule, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But ultimately, I had gotten married. I had done my two years overseas. Then I came back to California. I was stationed at Pendleton. I thought I was there for a while, so I get engaged quickly. We got married within a couple months, and next thing you know, I'm receiving orders to go on another deployment.
Right.
And I'm like, dang, How long? 7 months, 8 months.
Right.
So essentially, I got married, went on deployment, and came home, kind of married somebody I didn't really know. And that deployment, it was an exhausting one.
Sure.
It was pre-cell phone, so you're writing snail mail off ships and stuff. And most of us don't write much mail, anyways.
Right.
You know, especially us Marines, we barely know how to read and write.
Right.
Now that's a joke.
And it's taking time to get there too. I remember with my son, there could be times where maybe 3 or 4 letters are bunched up, but you're going to that mailbox every day, expecting something to be there. When it's not, you're like, okay, well, tomorrow.
Yeah. And we don't like to write back. We love to get the mail.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, it was pretty short and sweet with his.
Yeah. It's almost like you don't know what to say. So yes, those are the moments. But it's kind of I equate it to like, the Spartans, or you go out and you need to face your saber tooth up in the mountains. You're a young man, young woman, and you need to go out and face off. And your family, sitting back home now, I can look at how fast 4 years goes by.
Yeah.
With your son, I mean, it's flying by, and I'm thinking, wow, it seemed like forever when I was in.
Right.
How is it that it goes by that quick?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
but when it's you, it's
a whole different slow process.
Especially if you're sitting there watching Post, it's slow.
That's it. So, it was just one of those things. I didn't really want to get out, but my wife, I wanted to honor being a husband as well. So I got out, and honestly, I was instantly different. I was stressed. I was, I think within 3 weeks, to be honest with you, I had a shotgun in my mouth after getting out. Civilian life was not going to be a fit. And
now, I know you're comfortable talking about this, or else I wouldn't take you down that road. You come back, and what I've seen prior to my son and with my son, with the different gentlemen that he's with and the friends that I've had, you come back, and in other places, you're given that responsibility.
Right.
You come back here, maybe you're working at Home Depot, or and you're dealing with somebody who just doesn't get it. You're like, man, this isn't life or death. I know what I'm doing. Let me handle it.
Yeah.
But because they've been there 3 months before you,
right.
It's all of a sudden. That's tough.
Yes.
People not understanding what you saw, what you went through. That's tough. Talk to me about that moment where it just became your worst day.
Well, exactly that. So in the military, our promotions are based off of, time in service, your time in the military, and your time in your current rank, right? And it's also based on proficiency and conduct. So it's unlike the unions where seniority is based upon your time in somewhere. And so, if you do well and you earn it, you get promoted. Out here, it is different. That you clued on exactly that. It's based upon sometimes who you know and everything else. And so it's hard because, yes, people don't know the difference of, what it's like. Okay, let's use Home Depot or Lowe's, and talk about, you've been on the floor, you're doing this. Not only are you dealing with customers who, or maybe they're in a hurry, maybe they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Those things don't exist in Marine world, I'll call it.
Right.
You suck it up, you press on, you have a job to do. It's something greater than. And so there's a lot more intensity. And yes, life and death most of the time is a deciding factor in decisions. Out here, it is a lot different. And the fact that, 3% of the people in our country are serving at any given time, it's a small amount of people. And we do have a lot of veterans in the world, but ultimately nobody really truly, I don't say they don't care, because people care. They just don't know how to still care and show it. And so, we just get lost, and we feel different then, and we look for those links, those common bonds. Some people go into law enforcement. I became a journeyman lineman for a utility company. Something where there's some adventure to my work. I'm hanging from helicopters, whatever. But also working along people that care about your life and whether or not you live and die. And I think we need that chaos almost to keep going and feel like we're truly back in our unit, because the camaraderie that exists inside of my platoon, I'll speak on, is huge. I mean, you're talking about people that will lay their life down for one another, and sometimes in certain cases you kill for each other, and that's the way it is. So,
on that bad day, for you, had it felt like there was no way going backwards? So, that first time, that was my first time. It was, I'm lost. What am I doing? I don't want to be here. I'm failing already as a husband.
I didn't get out and immediately find a job within the first day. So, 3 weeks into it, I'm already depressed. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that flies by. So I didn't really realize it. But at 22, yeah, there was no, in 1998, this is 98, 99 now, there was no groups around. Like we had the Legion, we had VFW.
Sure.
Great groups, but not something I was really associating with. So
Has the stat grown from then? I know it's 22 a day, if I remember correctly. On average, we lose vets that take their own lives. 22 a day.
22 a day, every hour, and those numbers. There's arguments both sides. I think it tends to be probably more than that because some states don't have an obligation to report whether or not the person was a veteran. So we don't know in some cases. I think that they've talked about it being down to 20, but still.
That's insane.
I mean, yeah, that's insane.
I mean, I hate to say it, not to put a number on anything. One's too many.
Yeah.
But you go above 5 a day.
Yeah.
That adds up very quickly in a month.
Yeah, we've lost more now to suicide in the last few years than we have to all combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Who saved your life on the very worst day? I know you had a couple of moments, but what would you say was you went, okay, I got to get through this because I don't want this to happen to anybody else?
Well, 6 years ago, after 1999, we fast forward to now, having a career, everything else. 6 years ago in Old Orchid, I was done. I had left my job for integrity purposes. I didn't like what the company was doing, and those words that we talked about earlier: honor, courage, commitment. The big one for me is integrity.
Yeah.
Right, and people had died, and I was tasked with: do I tell the truth and lose my job, or do I just shut my mouth and press on? And so I told the truth. I did lose everything. And on that worst day, I was in Old Orchid. I was ready to go suicide by cop. And the moment of truth came through, and here comes a gentleman through the gate, sheriff's department. My family, I put my family in a position to have to do, essentially the unthinkable, the hard thing. And that was to call the authorities to get me the help, to force me into the help I needed. And so through the gate comes now I know him as Deputy John Coyle. And John came up to me. He says, "You're a veteran, right?" And I said, "I am." He says, "You're going to be all right." And I said, "No, I'm not all right. I'm not going to be all right." And he told me again, "You're going to be all right." And he says, "I'm a veteran too." And, it was really that moment where I finally heard somebody telling me, I'm good at taking orders, He's telling me I'm going to be all right. Not asking me, not suggesting it. He was letting me know that I was going to be all right. And that moment, when we look at what police officers and law enforcement and everybody has to do, first responders, that moment was so key in my life.
Sure.
And it gave me the necessary motivation, I think, to go forward. And, we can talk more and more about this, and I'd be happy to. I don't want to keep going on this without giving you your questions. So
no, I think that, again, you give a valid point to what kind of clicked for you there. I know that there was a process of going through, because you don't just walk away from something like that and they go, "Hey, everything's great now."
Yeah.
There's a process of you having to pay for what you did and talk about what you did and just mentally get through what you did, find that help. But now you were getting it. Now you were feeling it. At what moment did you realize I've got to help others? Because with Band of Brothers, thank God, not only were you going to be all right, you took all right and flushed that down. You went above and beyond that.
Yeah, there's a couple moments in my journey. So John Coyle's one of them. I'll flash back to Montana real quick. I was up there, went through the divorce. I was living in Montana at the time, and one of my platoon members so this was 2001. He drove straight from Arizona to Montana nonstop.
Whoa.
And he was.
That's a long drive.
Williams. Yeah, he knew that I was in a dark place, and boom, he was on it. So that's the level of dedication that you see from inside your platoon.
Yeah.
And so that was the brother coming to help. Now fast forward now, John Coyle, I ended up in Veterans Treatment Court, which was started here by Judge Rogelio Flores. And,
Great program.
And it still continues on today. Judge Kuntz has it. It is a great program. And basically, it takes veterans and it gives them an opportunity to earn their way back through whatever criminal charge they had and get them the help they need, which is the biggest component of it, right? There's drug courts and there's all kinds of different courts. But Veterans Court, it's a very, very strict kind of program and regimen that they put you through, including, help through the VA. There's wonderful caseworker over at the VA. Everybody on the treatment court, from the public defender even to the district attorney's office, I mean, is all about finding a solution for that vet. So today we have these things. Now, I got in there, and the biggest component for me was the mentorship part. I met a gentleman come up to me, silver-haired gentleman, dignified. I mean, just somebody that you aim to be like in life. And he comes up and he's got this picture album, and inside his picture album is a bunch of crashed and kind of beat up CH-47 C9. They're Chinook helicopters, twin rotor helicopters, and they're laying on their side and smoke and everybody, and you could tell it's Vietnam.
Right.
And part of what I did in the Marines, I was a helicopter repellent instructor, so I had some time in those birds. And so this gentleman comes up to me, and I looked at him, and he was a Marine. He was a Marine pilot in Vietnam, and that's all right to say his name?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. All right. So this gentleman comes up, and he is phenomenal, and he became my mentor, and I accepted help from a mentor. One of my probably smartest moves in life is you seek wisdom from those that are wise.
Oh, totally.
So I went through that court. Judge Flores, I will say his name because he's a public figure, right?
Yes, yeah,
and,
exactly.
And he looked me in the eyes, he calls me to the bench, and he says, "Young man, I expect a lot from you." And that's exactly what sparked this whole thing. Is I graduated vet court, I got my honor back, I was able to thank Deputy Coyle in my speech, thank my mentor, thank the judge and the treatment team. But I realized then that I went back to, all of a sudden I was kind of alone again. And so it's interesting that in vet court, you've got a group of people that are all veterans, all struggling together. And it didn't matter what branch you were in or anything else. You're all going through a fight together, fighting to stay alive, essentially. Yeah. Because we're all going downhill. And so I'm looking at, these are my new friends. And it's funny because you think, well, you're friends with a bunch of, criminals, was a lack of better words. But essentially, yes. Because they can be amazing people, right? Yes. We all are. Some people, great people, have bad days.
That's right.
And so we started a little softball team with the Marines, and then when people played a couple seasons and everybody's kind of getting burnt out and coming up on the holidays, I wanted to keep playing. I needed it. Yeah. I need to keep getting out there and leaving everything on the field. So I approached a guy that came out with his Navy shirt on when we were playing, and we're like, no, you're in the Navy. Sorry. Oh, wow. And we dismissed him a few times. And so when this opportunity came up, I went up to him. I says, hey, Brian, what about opening a team for all branches of service? Right. And we did. And 21 players signed up the first year. Well, you're only allowed 20 on a roster.
Right.
So they're never leaving one behind.
Yes.
So we had to start two teams instantly.
Oh, my God.
Reached out to the Air Force, so my sister and her husband are Air Force veterans, and they got some people together, and next thing you know, Team Honor and Team Courage are on the field on Friday nights, and it was amazing.
Steve, it's amazing to me when you go back and you look at all this stuff and you think of that 17-year-old kid. Yeah. The thought process is you're going to go to the Marines and you're going to do something great there. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me and amazing to me at the same time that it was after that. It was instilled in you in the Marines, but it was after you had to go through that journey. You had to go through that path to now be able to do the things that you do. And granted, you love it. Yeah. But amazing things. Talk about the house that you guys have built. Yeah. Talk about what you're doing nowadays and the improvements that you guys have made, and maybe even how many lives you think you've saved.
Yeah. I used to struggle when I was going through the corporate. I'd struggle. I'd say, God, why is this isn't fair? This isn't fair. And you know what? I would do it all over again, because if that's what it takes to gain enlightenment in this world, people, I'm telling you, your tough times can turn into your greatest asset in life. And oftentimes we don't think about that. We're stuck in the poor me part of things. And you are absolutely 100% right, my friend, that had I not gone through that journey, I would not have the credibility to stand here and be able to help others today.
Right.
And I had to earn that. And that was the hardest earn. That's way harder than earning a title of Marine or anything else.
Yeah.
And so we, we started these teams, and we quickly grew. Interest grew, and we saw that people wanted to belong. And so we did. We're up to 7 teams now, all veterans, and we invited the police department team in, so they've got one. We just got word that the fire department wants to bring one in.
Perfect.
So let the games begin.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And, my mentor came to me and he said, hey, I'd like to open a house for homeless vets. And I had a little experience doing some property management up north, and I thought, all right, it's not something that it was on the top of my list for a radar, but remember that same man who helped pull me through. This is the direction he wanted to go, and you bet I'm going to be there to do the best I can. So he purchased a home through his foundation, and it's a private home here in Santa Maria. And of course, we decided to name it La Casa de Flores, the House of Flores, and the veterans know it affectionately as Camp Flores. And we basically went out and were traipsing through the riverbed and scouring the streets to find veterans that are actually homeless on the streets, and got them into what's now, a $1 million home. And, we've remodeled. We put a second story on it. This house is built in 1906. The stories, it's amazing. But it is when you walk in, it's not plastered with veteran stuff everywhere. This is a home. And this is a home, a healing place, a stability home.
Yeah. Not every day there is going to be perfect.
No.
But you have people around you that have been through it or going through it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it perfect.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a gentleman in there that's 74. He might be mad at me. I don't know if he's 74 or 72. I know we have one that...
He looks 70.
Yeah.
That'll smooth things over.
So... And we call him the owl, the wise man. I mean, this guy was, when he came to us, he was literally sleeping in a field, and there was a dog that just barked at his head all night. And I told him, says, you have permission to spend your last days here till taps is played for you. I don't ever want him to feel like he's got to go back out there.
Right.
That he has this fear. He's on fixed income.
Right.
Elderly. Where else is he going to go?
Yeah.
So he's the wise old man. Now, I think one of our greatest successes and greatest stories is a gentleman that heard about us. One of our veterans here reached out to a friend in Pennsylvania, and he was literally on the edge that day, and he was gonna punch out. And we got on the phone with him, and it's like, hey, we don't know you, brother.
Right.
What are you going through? Quick talk. Are you willing to get on an Amtrak train from Pennsylvania and come to California? And he did.
Gosh,
and he has been with us almost a year, and he's won our award for Boot of the Year, Rookie of the Year. He's amazing. And
that's awesome.
Talk about a story. His mom had passed away. I mean, this guy was lost, and now he is the epitome of what you want to see people doing out here in the community as far as being involved and being a house manager and things. So I could tell stories about every single person that's been there. So
for Santa Maria and anybody else that's listening, you not only just started a little softball team that became humongous, that's now doing, I think, other sports as well.
Yeah.
But you also had the house, but you turned it into a nonprofit as well now.
We did.
And people can donate to you now.
Yes.
How do they do that?
Yeah, so our official name is Echo Group. It's ECHO, GROUP, Echo Group. Band of Brothers was not accepted by the state of California as a viable name. It's probably pretty common. So that is our sports program. We have softball on Friday nights, softball league. We have a bowling league on Sunday nights for veterans and families, civilians alike, which has grown. It's huge. That is something awesome. We have a billiards team that plays on Monday night here at the billiards facility in Santa Maria. And yes, so the nonprofit Echo Group really came into play because we wanted to be able to really get bigger. We didn't. We just planned on being a softball team. Yeah. And
it's still, I think, evolving.
It is still evolving.
And I'm excited to see where you are in 10 more years.
Yes. So we're doing it right. We're getting,
how do people get a hold of you? What's a good way for them? Is there a website?
Yeah. So our website is echovets.org. And so Echo Veterans for short. Now, the term Echo, it comes from the military phonetic alphabet for the letter E. meaning enlisted, right? So my rank was sergeant, but my pay rate was E5.
Okay.
And so that's my call sign was Echo 5 Bravo, Sergeant Baird. And so that's where it went. It's the enlisted vets, but we do have officers on there as well. But
Sure.
yeah, so Echo Group is our 501c3, and we have our number on there. And anybody that would love to donate, I mean, we
Go check it out.
Tax, yeah.
We have about 30 seconds left.
Okay.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done for my family. Thank you for what you've done for this community and its vets. I can't say that enough, but I know that I tell you thank you, and you're like, it's what I do. Yeah. So give me one thing to leave somebody with about your vets and obviously your service members.
Another mentor just passed away, Keith, and I flew up to see him before he passed, and I recorded a quick audio thing of him, and he told me on his bed, he said, Steve, reach out with kindness. And he says, not that sappy stuff, he says, reach out, lift people up, you pat them on the back, put your arm around them, tell them good job, because that's my biggest observation in the world today is not enough people go out there and lift each other up. Everybody's quick to tear each other down. Yeah. Come on, folks. We are the human race, and let's all pat each other on the back and tell each other good job.
Love it. You're doing a great job with that, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Steve Baird, Band of Brothers, Echo Group here in Santa Maria. If you want to find out more, go check out a softball game. It's actually pretty hilarious to watch. Yeah. It is fun to hear them talk crud to each other. They are masters at it, like nobody I've ever seen. So get out there, check them out, and there'll be a few events you can see them at as well. So be looking at Mega's site. We'll make sure we put those up for them too. Thanks again for coming in. Appreciate it, Steve.
Thank you, Brother Tony.
And thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. I tell you, we should make this like an hour long. It's hard to walk away from this, but you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And thanks for tuning in to Mega Cares right here on Mega 97.1.